$250 can protect your whole family. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I'm like, we're going to find something within this or lower to really figure out what's best for you. And then, I mean, I've been in some situations where like, well, what if it's more? What if we did more? And I'm like, well, let's look at it.
Well, thanks for joining this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. Appreciate you guys spending a little bit of time with us. Before we get going, we have a special guest, Derrick Robison, that's going to be joining us remotely. But I actually just wanted to start off a new month. Month of March is here upon us. Just finished off February, short month.
Yeah,
felt short.
Yeah. Well, we had like 4 or 5 days convention, so. But this month should be the one that's going to be kicking us off to where the fruits of what you guys learned from convention, and it's going to be kicking off from like, from the recruiting, from the standpoint of like growing. March and April usually has like a big bounce after February.
Yeah. Historically after convention, March is always the month that follows because it's always convention month always falls in the month of February. So historically, March is always the biggest or one of the biggest months of the year as far as production goes. So the thing is, if you guys were not satisfied with your February, which for some of you guys, you definitely should be. Some of you guys, you can do a little bit more, can do a little bit better. For me personally, I mean, I know I could do a lot better.
Yeah.
I came in for the Q&A on Monday with John and just talking about just dealing with some health issues and dealing with some personal stuff. So I haven't been working to my full capacity. I 100% recognize and see that. So, I mean, the thing is, I'm looking forward to this month. I'm looking forward to the month of March because it's an opportunity, even though still every one day after the next, it's still kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our responsibilities haven't really changed. Even the days of the week, it's not that big of a difference, because in our profession, we have the opportunity to purchase leads. They can come in every single day. You can make your calls every single day. You're in total control of what happens in terms of your day-to-day business.
Yeah.
But, just sometimes mentally, we just kind of have an idea, it's a new month or it's a new year, it's a new whatever.
Mm.
We look at these certain time periods and just think it's a new opportunity for me to reinvent myself.
Right.
So as far as change, as far as change is something that's obviously always gonna be a constant, so today what we'll be talking about really is everything's kind of temporary, and not by kind of, I mean, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you think about it, every single thing is temporary. Because me dealing with my health issues, like I'm just laid up in bed on certain days, and I'm just like bored out of my mind. Sometimes I have so much time on my hands, like my mind starts going in dark places, and I'm just like, oh, I have way too much time on my hands. And so the thing is, like, you get in these dark spaces, or you get into these feelings of not feeling productive or not feeling great about yourself.
Right.
And then like in those moments, no matter how dark it may get, how deep it may get into those particular moments, you just have to understand. Like for me, I intellectually understand it now. It's like, it's temporary.
Yeah. It'll pass.
Everything will pass. So like, no matter how bad of a situation you may be financially, how bad of a situation you may be health-wise, how bad of a situation you may be feeling emotionally about something in your family or personal relationships or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
It's all temporary.
Yeah. And it comes down to your head and how fast that passes, right? If you have so much time, you're going to mull that over. And then if you have so much time, the hour lasts longer. But if you're so busy, the hour speeds up. So you got to just put yourself in a good position of like, wherever you're at, we got to be productive. If for any reason you're feeling unproductive, start checking, start looking at your time. Like, what am I doing with my time?
Right. Yeah. And one way to get out of that, obviously, is like, just get in motion, do something.
Mm-hmm.
So like, no matter how you may feel, thing is, if you get outside, go for a walk, get some sun. I mean, it's hard to be depressed and be moving like that at the same time.
Yeah, it's true.
Also, it also is, it's also, if you want to get physical change, start doing something different. If you start going to work, start putting in time. I mean, you don't have time to feel bad for yourself. You don't have time to feel bad about whatever problems you got.
You're moving.
you're moving. You're too busy to be dealing with those problems. Doesn't mean they go away.
Yeah.
They'll still be there, but that's the thing about problems. They're always going to be there.
Yeah. That's the best thing to do, is to be so busy that you can't be stuck to where you're at.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one thing I was dealing with, and my mom, God bless her. The thing is, like, she means well, but then she's always constantly like, whenever there's anything wrong, she's like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? This and that." She just keeps bringing it to the forefront. So like, I actually had to get to a point where I'm like, "Mom, please, I love you, and I know you mean well, but it's not helping for you to continue to talk about this problem.
Yeah.
Like, the problem's there. Like, I don't need you to continue to focus on this. Like, I'm trying not to focus on this because I'm trying to be grateful for everything else that I got in my life. Not wasting time on thinking about a problem and making it bigger than it actually needs to be."
Yeah. Speaking of my mom, I got the 6-month-old baby, right? And then babies get sick. 5-year-olds get sick. Well, the 5-year-old brings in sickness from school, gets the little 6-month-old sick. Of course, they're kissing, they're talking. It's eventually going to happen. But my mom would sometimes just come back and say, "It's because you're taking her out too much. It's been windy outside. You're getting the kids sick. Keep her home." I just brush it off, but I purposely just yell at her, and it's like, "You're not my mom. Don't tell me what to do. It's my kid." You just got to brush it off, because sometimes, yeah, man, if these factors, these mental things that you could be telling yourself, it sometimes may not even have any basis. But if it's you telling yourself that, you could start believing that.
Yeah. And then, like, look at these two, like, stupid examples. I mean, like, it's stuff that we all got to deal with. It's all like people in your family, people, your friends, like, they don't even intend for it to be a negative thing.
Right.
But they start talking about negative stuff, it becomes negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we got to be careful. We got to guard our minds against stuff like that. And, I've gotten to the point now where I can just tell my mom, "Can we just not talk about this, or not talk about it right now, because I'm dealing with a bunch of other stuff, and I don't need you to continue to add to my problems by focusing on a problem that we can't currently fix."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we just all need to just recognize when that situation is in front of us. If you have control over it, do something about it. You don't have any control about it, don't focus on it.
Yeah. Just understand if it's urgent, if it's a priority, or is it just a noise. If it's noise, then, block it out.
So, speaking of everything being temporary, you just came off of a great month, Derrick.
Yes, sir.
The month of February, you helped over 33 families, which you put in a lot of work. You've put in the effort, you've invested into your business. So the thing is, as far as the temporal nature of it, February's over. Now it's time for March. Do you feel like it's a new start for you, or exciting, bad, nerve-wracking? How do you feel?
Yeah. So I didn't realize where I was at till you texted me yesterday, Eller. I'm not like, I've just been going and going and going. And so it's just one of those things where, you've had me on in the past and we've talked about it, and it's like, well, I'm the one providing for my family, so it's what I have to do. I'm going to keep pushing until, I'm just going to keep pushing. So yeah, I'm excited because of what in the past, I've been all about the CRM leads, and that only got me so far. So I've changed up some things, and if it's not working, why keep doing it? And it was working for me if I wanted to stay there, but if I wanted to get better, if I wanted to grow, it needed to be something different. So
yeah, that's a really good point, because you were doing pretty well. You weren't doing poorly. So the thing is, but then you stated it was good for a while, lasted. Now it's time to take it to another level.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So what prompted you to recognize it's time to take it to another level, time to do something different?
Yeah, I was just looking at the numbers every and every month, and just really wasn't seeing, I was averaging the same about every month. And as far as, what I could provide for my family, it was about the same every month. And I was like, I need this to increase. So it's scary at first when you start investing more money. But, we all know it's a numbers game, as far as, you're eventually going to run across something that'll work out for you.
Okay. So you identified the problem. You're like, which I guess it's not really, it's a problem if you don't want to stay where you're at. So then you recognize it's time to move on to the next level. So what was the first step in figuring out hey, what's the next phase for me?
Yeah, I kind of looked at my upline and kind of what he was doing as far as leads wise. And then, the CRM leads, we are all doing final expense. That's great. But I was running into a lot of, no shows, a lot of, so I was like, well, final expense where it's at. So what do I need to do? I needed to do the buy per lead campaign. So I went in and locked out every county that was available in the state of Oklahoma, even if it showed zero, because if it shows zero, I'm not paying for anything. But if I get one, then I get one. So every county that was available through MailPro, I locked out as far as mortgage goes, multiple vendors, same thing. With MailPro final expense, I looked at the counties that had the most that were available and just kind of went for it. So.
And you mentioned you're centrally located, so it kind of helps that you're
Yeah.
able to, and you're also, more importantly, you're willing to drive out to wherever you need to drive out to.
Right. So like my day today, I'm actually on the road. My day today, I had about 10 leads that were anywhere from an hour to 2 hours away. They were all kind of in the same area. And so I just loaded them all up. I put them on Road Warrior and just tackled them. After this call, I have, I'm going to go back to one that wasn't there this morning. Then I'm going to go to my scheduled appointment. And then on my way home, which will probably be around 8 o'clock, I'm hitting my last house that wasn't there. But every one of those leads have been resolved and they've been resolved in some sort of fashion. Either, hey, we have something, or, like I can't afford it, or, hey, we're interested.
Okay. Now, if I could ask, how much are you spending roughly a week on leads?
So for example, yesterday I just got a batch in. It cost me $1,000, and that was just yesterday. And then I would say I'm anywhere between 1,500 to 2,500 a week. It just kind of varies with those buy per lead campaign, just when they come in.
What was it previously before you decided to make the change?
It was around the same. It was about 1,500 every month. I say around the same. I'm paying a little more now. It was around 1,500, but it was strictly CRM leads that I was working.
Okay, so you just kind of changed the strategy a little bit and up to just a bit.
Yeah,
so would you say you were 100% final expense before, and now would you say you're like what, 50-50, 25, more towards mortgage?
Yeah, so I'm probably 25-75 right now, as far as mortgage is the 25, final expenses the 75. It just depends on the week that it comes in. Some weeks I have more mortgage leads come in, and I'm like praying, dear God, let these work out, because they're a lot more money. So, and sometimes they all come in at once, and I'm like, my wife's looking at me and I'm like, don't worry about it, girl. I got it. So but she's seeing it, and that's the thing. Like, she knows, we've been in this for about a year now, and so she knows there's been trust established between us that I'm just not going to let them go. And that's the thing with the buy per lead campaigns. You'll get some that are 2 hours away, and it's easy to just let it go. For me, I'm like, man, that's money. That's things that's sitting on the table. I was telling Pierce before the call, I looked at my desk on Saturday and I had about 25 final expense leads that had come in, and I'm looking going, well, that's around $1,000 right there, that I'm just letting sit there if I don't do anything about it. And so this week and next week, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm knocking those out. If I haven't gotten a hold of them, if it's 2 hours away, I'm driving. Yesterday I drove all over the place yesterday, and I drove for one that I couldn't get a hold of that was about an hour and a half away from where I was, and ended up helping her and her husband. So
what's your strategy when the leads come in? Do you call them immediately? Do you batch them up together and call them as a group?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I kind of do it differently with mortgage and final expense. My mortgage leads, I'll call immediately. What I've realized is there's a lot of mortgage vendors out there, and they're getting them quicker than I am. And so I'm like, as soon as I get them, I'm calling them. If it's late at night, because they usually come in between, either 7 or 9, I'm calling them first thing in the morning. And then with the final expense, if they're far away, I'll call them. But if they're not far away, I'm just going to show up. And far away for me is like, if it's within an hour, I'll just show up and just say, hey, we've been trying to get in touch with you and haven't been able to. And they're like, oh, come on in. And they just let you right in. Because the likelihood is they're getting calls and they're ignoring them. So they're probably going to think, oh, this was one of them.
Oh, so are you still 100% in person, or are you doing in telesales?
I'm doing telesales too. Just not as much. I need to get, I see you guys on live dials and I'm like, man, how do I get to that point? Telesales for me is, I mean, I can do it and it works out. I just, for me, in person right now is working better. It's creating that income and helping those families that need to be helped. So.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of like changes and how everything's temporary, remember before everything was strictly in person, it was just like,
yeah,
it's never gonna work if we move it to telesales.
We were all anti telesale, like clients won't trust you, the attrition level on that, it all changes. Like if you master it, you create your craft on it, it'll get better.
I mean, the economy shifted that way. So I mean, we always got to pay attention because the economy shifted that way. A lot more transactions are being done over the phone or via Zoom. I mean, clients' attitudes were shifting towards that. The technology's improved, and most importantly, I think the biggest thing above all things is our brain. And
yes,
our mindsets allowed us to actually be open to it, because the reality is most of us are resistant to change, which is human nature. Like we want to find this bit of safety and just think the way that we've been doing it is the way to do it.
Yeah,
and if we don't get out of that mindset, the thing is we're missing on a lot of opportunities, and then sometimes it's never too late, because as long as you got breath in your lungs and your heart's still beating, you still have a chance to change into something different. But the thing is, sometimes certain people will pass you by, certain groups will pass you by, certain opportunities will pass you by if you're just not open-minded.
right. And then I think,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I think you definitely have to be willing to do both.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because there are people. The other day I drove 2 hours for a mortgage appointment that didn't end up working out because they already had plenty of coverage in place that they put years ago. But the guy was like, well, my wife sure would enjoy a in-person visit. And I'm like, I don't want to drive 2 hours for this, but I'm like, I'm not going to pass up the opportunity. So you definitely have to be, you can't just be stuck and go, well, I only do this or I only do that. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is you do have an edge being able to do both, right? Because you can only call and dial so much on a person that will never pick up. Okay, so if you're not open to door knocking, if you're not open to taking that risk to drive, no one else is going to pick up that check, right? Unless there's someone else that does to go door knock. So that's a great accomplishment on you to see your numbers grow from the taking of the risk from just CRM, which of course CRM works, but CRM leads are a little bit cheaper compared to what you're doing now, right? Talk about the price cost from your initial buy per lead on the CRM to what you're doing as a mailer on final expense. It's a mailer on mortgage.
Yeah. I mean, it's way more. So the costs for CRM leads are anywhere from $4 to $9, depending on like if you do it instant, and then mortgage can run, I mean, 75 to 85, depending on kind of what Top Mark or Ace or something, and then final expense is 45. So it's definitely there. And so for me, I'm just like I'm pretty hard on myself, and so I'm like, I'm an idiot if I don't do something with it. And if I'm calling and they're not picking up, well, that means they're not picking up for other people. So what am I going to do different? I'm going to show up. And just like the one yesterday, we were able to help them, and it was able to help 3 families just off that one house yesterday. So,
well, given the price difference between these leads, do you approach them any differently in terms of like how you call them or how you speak to them or how you handle them?
Yeah, I mean, the final expense leads, I just do it like I would any other CRM lead. I show up and I just run the appointment. I mean, hey, I'm here. You filled this out. You need this. You want this. Kind of tell me the situation. If you were to die, who's responsible? And they just kind of tell you what they need. And if you need a resource for that, go to Trisha Brown. She's killer at it. And that's kind of where I got my script from, is just her. Hey, I'm the underwriter that's been assigned to go over your case. I'm the case manager that's been assigned to help you with your benefits this year. And they're like, oh, I've been assigned a case manager. It's like, yeah. So, and then with the mortgage, I just call, and what I'll do is that first call is I'm not trying to close them on that first call. I'm setting up, I want them to think that I'm busy. I want them to think that I don't have a lot of time. And I actually picked this up from another agent in FFL, and I'll call and I'll be like, hey, Albert, hey, I'm just getting back to you real quick. Don't have a lot of time, about to leave the office. I'm helping about 10 other families today. You filled this out and sent this in. Was that you or your wife that did that? And they'll just kind of be like, yeah, I remember I did it, or my wife did it. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Kind of tell me what was the reason for you filling it out? And you have them tell you on the phone, why they need it. Oh, well, if I die, my family doesn't have anything, or they, will be stuck with the mortgage. And like, perfect. Hey, well, I don't have time today. So tell me, tomorrow, would an in-person or would a phone call work better? And we just kind of go through it from there. But I don't try to close them, because more than likely I'm catching them when their spouse isn't there. And then I want to make sure that both parties are there when I do that. So
what about if the client says, I don't remember filling it out?
I send them a picture. I'll send them a picture of it. I'm like, because it's their handwriting. Yeah. It's their wife's handwriting. They can't, I'm not lying to you. Why else would I be calling you? And so I'll just be like, hey, I don't remember filling it out. Okay, hey, I'm gonna send you this picture and let me know when you get that. Oh, do you get that? Oh, my wife filled it out. Yeah, she was probably worried about you if something was to happen. And they go, oh yeah, and then that conversation kind of flows in. It doesn't always work like that, because like I said, sometimes I'm getting these leads after other people have gotten to them already. So it's like, other vendors, not, so they're like, oh, I'm not interested, or I already talked to somebody, or so I'll just have to kind of work through that objection, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. So let's run through that objection. The client says, I already took care of it.
Okay, well, how'd you take care of it? You mind me asking you?
Yeah, I already got some coverage.
Perfect. Hey, that was probably one of my people that helped set you up. What company did you end up going with? Do you mind telling me?
I think my wife took it out through the bank or something.
Through the bank. Okay, perfect. Now, I don't know if you know this, but most mortgages, when they offer some type of protection, usually when that mortgage is sold, that protection leaves. It doesn't transfer over with the mortgage. This is a mortgage protection, actually, it sticks to the person. We put it on the person, so it's never sold. If the mortgage is sold, you still have it. You don't have to worry anything about it. So this is just a little bit different. I'd love to be able to help you and show you, kind of see what you have and see if I can offer a better value to you.
So you're still going to push through and try to
I still push through and try to get a presentation. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it's nothing personal when it doesn't work. I just cuss them out and I don't do that. No, I just, usually, honestly, what'll happen is if I don't close them, I'm pitching it up to my upline and saying, hey, see if you can do anything with this, and then we'll split it.
Yeah. Shout out to Darren.
And and Darren, and he does the same thing. If there's people he can't get a hold of, or the two mortgage protection appointments I have today are his, that he wasn't able to get a hold of them, and I finally got in touch with one, and I've been in touch with them for about 3 weeks, and they've been out of town, and I'm finally getting an in-person visit with them.
Nice.
So then you're gonna split that with Darren, or that's all you?
Oh, he thinks I'm splitting it with him, but we're splitting it.
Yeah, careful, he's on this call.
Hey, I know he's on the call. I know he's on the call.
But think about the
teamwork.
Your mentality. You were saying that earlier. How easy is it to just let a $4, $9 CRM lead sit there and not work it and not resolve it, versus working a $30, $45 to an $85 lead? Yeah,
well, I think honestly, I treated the $4 lead like I did the $45 lead, because when it was the $4 lead, that's all I had. That's all I could work. And so it was, I exhausted those CRM leads, and I think, my numbers would show that I did everything I could to make sure that it would work. And sometimes, you get bad numbers, you get people where you get wrong numbers, you get numbers that are disconnected, you get people who are screaming at you, and it's just, you push through. And I think CRM leads are great for people who are trying to first get started and get down talking to people on the phone, and just working out all those kinks. But I think you treat them the same. It's a mentality. If you're going to treat that $4 lead like it's nothing, then you're going to treat that $45 or $75 lead like it's nothing when you can't get a hold of them. You're just going to push it to the side, and it's not working like that.
Yeah, that is a real good idea for a lot of people on here watching. If you can't get a hold of a lead ever, or someone's told you no, or you couldn't do anything with it, give it to somebody else, ask for a split.
Yeah. Even better too. Sometimes, you might caught them in the wrong time. You start getting to a yelling argument. Now they know your phone number, but you didn't really get the percent all the way. It's a good opportunity for someone else. Even especially if you have downlines, let them have at it. It's a free trial run.
So something that I've done is I don't use my personal cell phone when I make the initial call, because I have an 816 area code, and the area codes in my area are all different. They're 405, 580, 918. So people are more likely to answer an area code that they recognize that's local. So I actually downloaded an app called Burner that it gives you different numbers. And so when I'm calling those mortgage leads, one thing I'll do that I didn't do with the CRM leads is with those mortgage leads, if I leave a message, I will just say, hey, I'm in and out of the office today, so you can reach me at this number, or you can reach me at my personal number at this. That way they have both. But most of the time people forget your number if you call them from that burner lead. So if it doesn't work out over the phone, they go, no, they hang up on you. You can still show up. They're not going to know your name. They're not going to remember your name from a week, 2 weeks ago. So show up, and their demeanor is completely different.
Well, I mean, I think even if they remember you show up, they're still different.
Yeah.
They're still,
it would still be nice.
It's much easier to be mean over the phone because you don't know who this person is. You're not even thinking of this person on the other end of the line as a person.
Yeah, usually when I start crying in front of them, their demeanor changes. When you were mean to they're like, oh wow, no, I'm just playing.
But it's true, because like how many times, being in the field, in-person appointments, you get a voicemail you ignore, and then you show up and they said, oh, I called to cancel. Well, I'm here. You got a few minutes? You can close, because now you've overcame that objection of, a little small wall they built up on the phone.
Correct.
So have you felt the sting that now that you're buying a little bit more expensive leads, which for everyone that's out there watching,
I know you might. Yeah.
Trish, we'll meet you.
I don't think we're in danger of her cursing it out or anyone.
Trish is wild.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't want to take it away from her. Maybe she would. But as far as how people treat you, I mean, like we've when I was new into sales, I had this guy cuss me out on the phone. And he's like, why are you calling me? Blah blah blah. So I just showed up at his house, and then the guy's like seriously, bro, didn't I just tell you not to call me more? And you show up to my house, and I'm like, yeah, my job sucks. My manager says I have to clear this off the list, or else I can't move on. And then like his demeanor changed. He's like, all right, sit down. You just gotta have fun with it. You just gotta not personal, even though it may feel like at the moment.
Yeah. I'm gonna get fired if I don't show up.
Yeah, the lady I ran into this morning on the phone, she was just like, I'm not interested. I'm not. And I showed up, and her demeanor was completely different. She didn't even remember me, first of all. I just said, hey, we've been trying to get in touch with you. And so it just changes. And Trish has talked about that in the past. Like, their demeanor completely changes when you show up in person. And here's the deal. Like, when I first came on and I was working those CRM leads, I thought people were saying, hey, show up to every lead in your CRM lead. I didn't know there were different types of leads. There were different, so if anyone's new on here, it's like, man, I have 200, 300, 400, a list of CRM leads that, don't feel like you have to show up. Now, if it's not working for you and they're all in the same area, yeah, just show up and see what happens. But with these leads, for sure, I'm showing up with them because I've paid a little more for them.
Yeah.
Right.
So have you felt the sting of, like, for the people that tell you no, you can't even get a presentation, and are you like, that one hurt just a little bit more than a normal $4
Actually,
lead?
yeah, the sting actually comes. I've had a couple of chargebacks with the mortgage leads, and that sting hurts a little bit because you're like, what the crap are you doing? Like, I want to be like, what is your problem? But
Hey, I don't want to interrupt your party. Okay, I don't want to interrupt your party. Hi, California.
What's
I
up?
am so proud of you. We've had a lot of early morning talks. Trisha, how do you do that? I'm like, dude, just go out, be yourself. It doesn't matter if you already talked to him. Just today, and I told Darren this, I said, I have rode by this lady's apartment 6 times and knocked. And she hangs up on me. I mean, she's brutal. Her name is Edna Moss. And and today I thought, maybe she's seen my vehicle. So I parked like around the corner this time. And I'm not the smallest lady, so I hate to walk any further than I have to. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna walk around the entire block to get to this lady's house. I'm gonna sneak up on her. And she was there today. $90 Smoker's Advantage. Happy, added her grandkids on that live there, 2 of them. I mean, like, I was in and out probably like an hour, 5 minutes.
Nice.
But it was my 7th go around. That lead was not dead, and to me anyway, that's my perspective. But Derrick is taking an approach that it's like, take no punches. If you can't get a hold of him on the phone, and now I'm trying to do everything. You guys will be so proud of me. We have a dialer. She set 4 appointments, and I sold 2 so far over the phone.
Nice.
And this is a supplement, you just going on door knocking and stopping by people's homes?
Well, I always did that.
Yep.
I always door knocked, but I was more like against the appointments because I felt like they would blow me off, or they would talk to family and too much time to think about it. Everything's a scam, everything's this, whatever. So it was like the whole spontaneity of knocking on the door and seeing you physically, seeing you don't mean them any harm, smiling at them, letting it be warm, building a rapport. There's glue in it, and Derrick's finding that out right now. It's more tenacity, I'm not gonna lie, like, but at the same time, the phone is a lot of tenacity. Like, it's a lot of it's just different animals, but it's just they're both work, but I had to change, and I have did 4 in the last week over the phone, and they weren't like, I wasn't dialing the whole day like how you guys, oh my gosh, like you sit there and you dial like 200 dials. I basically, this lady is like, okay, you got an appointment at 4:00 and you got an appointment at noon on Monday. And I just have to follow what she gives me. So if I'm out on the road, I'm just going to pull over and call, you know what I mean? Regardless if I'm not really at home doing it per se. Which ultimately that's what I want to do. I just want to be at home doing that because I do want to get, kind of quit running around. But my second sale, sorry to take over, Derrick, but I'm gonna get this done and I'm gonna leave you alone. I haven't been on these calls for like 4 weeks because of my mom, so I'm back. So this gentleman was down in West Plains. You want to hear how crazy this is? So these leads are leads that I already bought months ago off the CRM. Okay, so I give them to the lady that's dialing. She dials. She gets this gentleman on the phone. His name was Mr. Tharp. I knew when I got the appointment, I'm like, man, this sounds familiar. I had already been to their house and been rejected physically, door knocked. And so this is like 3 months ago. And they were like, no, we got State Farm. We don't want to hear it. We're dedicated to our agent. I mean, they would not even let me in the door. And I rarely have that. So it was the timing. And I'm talking to the guy, and I'm looking at because it was a universal, and his pension changed and it was going up. He was getting ready to turn 70. Like, all the moons were aligned. It's like, oh, so I show him the mutual, and were like beating their price by like $150 a month.
Wow.
And he's like, I want to go with you, but my wife is scared that this is a scam because you don't have. I said, oh my gosh, one of those. I was like, put her on the phone. Okay, we're not going to do this. And I'm like, okay, lady. I'm like, let's do a FaceTime. Let's just talk to each other. I'm like, if I need to, like, I'll drive to your house. Like, what do we need to do? I'm like, don't tell me you think Mutual of Omaha is a scam. Are you serious? They've been around since 1909. She's like, no, but we just got. So, okay, what do you want? Let me show you send you some pictures of my kids. Okay, what do we got to do here? And so anyway, that was like one of the biggest cases I ever wrote. It was like $291 a month. I saved the family between him and her, literally like $303 total. I'm gonna go visit them next week when I'm down in the area, take them some goodie bags and their dog something and whatever, and take out some packets. But that was just 2 appointments, and those were on old leads that I already bought. Okay.
And that was phone sales.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yes. And so I am like over the moon with this right now. I know it was a super big case. It won't always be like that. And what I did was like a $54 Eagle Premier, which who can complain about that, because the software is so, I mean, it's just, they've made it too easy almost, and it's like, I just have to wrap my head around really dedicating a full 2 days a week to doing it and stop with the whole, because I've been in the field today, I've been on the phone today. My kid just made it, walked on to a very exclusive soccer league tonight. So please celebrate her. We are just ecstatic. She's like a veil defender. Eva is unreal. And so, I'm so happy my kid's happy. That makes me happy. And so I can go. But you know what's cool? I've got an appointment tonight at 6:30 and at 7:30. So I have an opportunity. What's neat about this is I've already been field today, and I've already sold 2 policies in the field, and I have an opportunity to sell 1 or 2 tonight.
Love to hear all that activity and incorporating phone sales into your repertoire.
I will say, speaking of price, I know sometimes we get stuck on when it comes to like mortgage protection or something like that, like Americo, and that's good. But you guys, if you haven't checked out Prosperity Term, I would. I mean, they are killer. I walked in. I drove an hour and a half to a mortgage appointment the other day. Got there. The lady on the phone was like, "Oh yeah, this in case I die, I need this." And so I'm thinking, "Oh dude, I got this. Like I have it." I show up. She's like, "Well, I got a policy the other day," and she pulled out an Americo packet from some guy in Oregon. And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's see." If you're on this call, guy, I'm sorry, but I took it. So, but no, like in legitimate, he went with a term 100. She was paying 125 for 125,000 or something like that. Prosperity was $74. So it was and she was a single mom, so money was a big thing for her. Like it was a huge difference. So if you haven't checked out Prosperity's term yet, do that. If it's not a cashback offer, that's kind of my go-to, because what I don't want is someone to come in and did what I did to this guy. So
Well, Prosperity, for those that don't know, is their family freedom term is a very competitively priced term policy that's simplified issue. Underwriting is great.
And it goes up to 70 plus. So this is good.
Yeah.
Except it's not in California.
Yeah. Not yet available in California. But that's actually a great point to make. I mean, if you want to expand into different lead types, like mortgage protection, you got to know a little bit more.
Yeah.
Final expense is pretty simple, straightforward. Client's gonna die, got to take care of final arrangements. Here's what it is. With mortgage protection, I mean, you gotta know you gotta have to know the different products in your portfolio a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have some different options. You gotta be able to problem solve in a little different way, like Derrick was able to do in that situation, just because it's the right thing for the client.
Yes.
Better thing for the client.
Save the client money.
I did save the client money.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more variables that can happen, because if you're dealing with mortgage protection and you're dealing with like senior clients and the term's not available, and you have to do a
Critical period.
critical period protection plan, asset protection plan. You got to know a lot more, and you got to be advisable and break it down. If they're asking you for a term but they had a heart attack, you got to be able to provide for them and say that's not feasible. So
Yeah,
it's definitely a step up.
Yeah, Darren was he started pitching because we do get with these, you do get some people who are older as far as mortgage goes, and they won't qualify for a term. So he started pitching what he called a payment protection plan. It's basically you're just writing a final expense policy, but you're just making it to where it's like, hey, this will cover 3 years of your mortgage. This will cover 2.5 years of your mortgage. And so you just pitch it that way, and it's just another way for them to look at it.
Yeah. Have you had to use that method yourself?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I use it all the time. And then when people ask me, because they say, oh, so this is a life insurance policy, and I'm like, well, yeah, but it's a mortgage protection that's attached to you, because they're like, I already have life insurance. And that's the thing, like, I won't sell somebody something they don't need. I won't, like, because I'm not protecting them at that point, I'm hurting them. And so there's been times where I've come in and they have plenty of life insurance that they got when they were in their 20s or 30s, and it's going to cover that mortgage. And I explain that to them. And what happens is they're usually like, oh, well, hey, you need to talk to this person over here. And I get a referral because I'm honest with them and I'm not trying to sell them something they don't need.
Hey, Albert.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mind if I jump in? I just want to piggyback a little bit. And first, I want to tell Derrick how proud I am of him. And Trish, both of them on here. And like today, the incredible day to be a rock star, right? Even Albert representing our shirt today. So, but like these guys are really rock stars, and they're killing it. But they're coachable, and I love that. Being an old coach, it's important to me that when we hire people that they are coachable. And Derrick has been coachable from day one. Everything, and he comes to me like if there's a question, he'll come and ask, and we talk about everything. And everything he's doing, he does a better job than I do in the field. Like, he has really picked it up and figured this thing out, and he's killing it. And so he was talking about that payment protection plan. I had a lady. Well, I actually hired a dialer the other day, so I just don't have the time like Derrick does to sit there and dial and all that and different ones. So she gives me an appointment. The guy was 79 years old and in another state, and she said, I don't think he can get anything. I said, no, give me everybody. I don't care. Like, give me their age. I don't care. 79 years old, and we got him a payment protection plan. And so we basically talked about the equity of the home and how much that house is worth. And he said, well, my daughter's going to get the house. And I said, well, how long do you think it'll need to sell it? And he said, how about 6 months? And I said, let's do a 6 months plan. We tried a year, but it was out of his budget range at 79 years old. I said, well, let's do it for 7 months. And sold him a $3,500 whole life policy at $3,500, but that will make 7 months worth of payments. He was perfect. He loved it. He said, man, thank you. So yeah, you just gotta don't judge anybody, right? It wound up being I think it was around almost the family, that we helped on that. So for that one little policy, but 79 years old, about how much this cost. And so it's a nice gift, but never prejudge just because they're 79 years old and have a mortgage. I always tell my clients this. I say, why do you think a bank will loan somebody 79 years old a mortgage? They'll give you a mortgage for 30 years. I said, why do you think they're going to do it? There is no risk to the bank. You're going to pay in all that money, and whenever you pass away, if no one takes over that payment, they maintain the house and all the equity. I said, we're going to save you from losing that equity to the bank. And that one little $3,500 policy can easily be a $35,000 policy because of the equity saved. And so it goes right back to that.
Yeah,
closer.
I will say yesterday. So you do have the younger ones that will go for mortgage protection, and you just still there's so much going on that there's no way you can get them a term. I had a guy yesterday. He was 45. He was on so much medication, and so we actually did a prime term for him yesterday. So you just, if you get told no, I can't. If you get declined, don't feel afraid to go to a whole life and figure out and just reword it. Just tell them, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then a couple of years, when you get off some medication, when things get better, we're going to revisit this and see if we can do something better for you.
Yeah, that's a great job of, and you got to pivot. And you got to be able to, like Darren was talking about. You're not gonna just be, hey, this is the premium, right? Or this is the dollar amount. You got to show the client conceptually, how does this product improve their quality of life? How does it provide a solution to their problem? And if
one of the things I started doing is I established a budget before I go too far in anything. We look at a budget pretty quick into me talking to them. And once we establish a budget, I know, because if they can tell me how much they're willing to spend on insurance, it's already sold. Like it's done deal. So if they sit there and say, well, man, I only want to spend about $120. Well, guess what I'm going to find for them? I'm going to find them a $120 policy. I don't care what it is, because they've already told me that's what they're going to spend.
I actually, so I do it a little different, because what I don't want is someone to go, hey, how much, is your budget? Because what I've gotten is the least possible, or, $20 or something. So I'll go through a budget with them. And then I've actually gotten it, and I don't know his name. He's a guy here on Family First, but he goes, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, most families that I sit with are okay with taking 10% of whatever's left over and using it for protection for their family. Would you say that would be? And then they're like, oh yeah, 10%, that's nothing. Because I'm holding up a calculator and showing them, hey, you have $2,500 left over at the end of the month. $250 can protect your whole family. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I'm like, we're going to find something within this or lower to really figure out what's best for you. And then, I mean, I've been in some situations where like, well, what if it's more? What if we did more? And I'm like, well, let's look at it.
Tough conversations.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you guys just, and different methods work. So it's not just any one of these one particular methods. You just got to be consistent about it. You have to put a little bit of thought about it if you really want to be a professional about it. And because for me, I've never worried about the price. I just show based on need. Here's what it is. If it's too much, they'll tell me. I'll lower it down. So just have a specific method in mind. And if you don't know, reach out to one of your uplines and ask.
Yeah. But now that you've added the mortgage protection, have you experienced bigger AP sales compared to final expense?
You're muted.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, 100%. It's night and day. The annual premium is 15 to 2 is my average, as far as, because when I go in, I'm not just doing one person, I'm doing both. I'm like writing for both. And so because they realize the need that if we're both working and something happens to one of us, we're in trouble. So yeah, you definitely see an increase.
Which, I mean, there's kind of a correlation. The lead costs are a little bit higher too. So it's all part of the business.
And I'll say what I said the last time I was on, man, if money is the issue, money that can be resolved. Go out and get a credit card, be smart with it, put your leads on that, and then pay them off at the end of the month. You will have, if you work them like you're supposed to, if you do the work, you will have the money to pay off that credit card plus make money for your family. And that was my issue. The cash flow was an issue, because you know how it is. It's like, well, I have money coming in, but not till the end of the month, or not till next month, or that was an issue for me. So we had to figure out a way to make it different.
Cool. Well, great stuff. I appreciate you coming on. I know you got some appointments you got to get out to, so appreciate you coming on and just sharing about your awesome month. Looking forward to even better month of March.
Well, I hope so. And I appreciate you having me, and thank you so much. Just for you, just for always being available as a leader. And I'm not just brown nosing. I'm not just making you feel good. Like I'm being sincere when I say this. Thank you for always being available for the phone calls or the texts, being willing to help when we need it, when Darren's not available. And the amount of time that it takes with your team to do this weekly. I know that's a lot, and I know it probably takes a lot on you. And that just shows your capacity as a leader. So thank you for that.
Appreciate that. Wasn't expecting any of that, but
Now,
it's actually,
I'll take you out to dinner later tonight. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, especially with everything I've been dealing with recently, it's just these moments like these is just really cool.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
So hope that helped you guys, apply whatever Derrick was able to share with you guys, what Trisha was able to share with you guys, what Darren was able to share with you guys, John was able to share with you guys. There's all these like little clues all around you. Like there's no real secret to any of this thing. You just understand everything's temporary. You have an opportunity to change whenever you choose to make a change. So it all starts with your mind. So let's continue to do that. Continue to make sure that you keep the right perspective. Let's continue to learn, continue to put in that work. Oh, this is also the most important thing when it comes to things changing, things not being temporary. It'll change the direction you want if you actually put in effort.
Yes.
Because the thing is, if it'll change at a very like slow, painful crawl.
Incremental efforts.
Yeah, it'll feel like it's going to take forever, and you're going to continue to be stuck longer in that current position if you don't put in any work.
Yeah.
Like, what do you really expect to change? So
you're either going to change to improve, or you're going to change to go down.
Yeah.
Right.
Life is going to change. Probably not for your betterment, right?
Yeah.
Not to your personal improvement if you don't decide to do anything different. So, we have that control. I'm super optimistic and encouraged by this new month coming up and just
March
everything we
Madness.
can do. So let's go out there and be elite, guys. Appreciate you guys.